the movement of positive revolution. Let's see who our panelists are. Idriss Aberkane, Doctor in Science, Neuroscience, applied to the economy. Ludovic Moan, General Manager, co-founder of Sigfox. Bertin Nahum, President and founder of Gaele, and co-founder of Michel et Augustin, CEO and founder of LearnEnjoy, and all of this will be moderated by the founder of The Living Room, who has been an entrepreneur for 13 years. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for being with us. I think you are a good representation of the diversity of France and the sectors where France is a pioneering force. I would like to start with education, with you, Gaele. You founded LearnEnjoy. Could you tell us a little more about the business? Ladies and gentlemen, hi, I'm Gaele Regnault. I founded LearnEnjoy 4 years ago. It's a startup that offers kids an educational solution on tablets to make learning easier for autistic children. One of my sons is autistic. He's 12 years. He was thrown out of school, as 80,000 kids have been. And I discovered after a very simple life as a manager who worked for big companies that when disability falls upon you, and anyone can be hit, you need to make up your own solutions. So, of course, you tend to be depressed at first. Then I worked with the non-profit sector. But in fact, when you go to specialized institution, it's just a solution for one person. Every kid, even autistic kids, love digital tools. And I decomposed the educational steps to make them accessible, where the large staircase of knowledge would have been too ambitious. And today, LearnEnjoy is about 10 employees, 30 people who work for us indirectly. We're also collecting funds. We're going to help 30,000 kids, I hope 300, 600,000 kids, perhaps several million, to learn in an easy way with what is known as differentiated pedagogy. Adapt teachings to the need of the kid. And in fact, the interesting thing about this, beyond the meaning that it gives to disability in my own life, is that I was useful for my country, for the kids of my country, through new technologies. And I think that my team and I, with LearnEnjoy, are helping to build a more unified and connected society. And it's actually quite funny to think that digital applications create more humanity within us. Thank you. Idriss Aberkane. You have written a number of books. You're a specialist of the knowledge economy. What Gaele said, is that something that makes sense? The system, could the educational system be transformed? I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. Absolutely. In fact, we have entered the 21st century with a 19th century educational system. You needed to learn all the dates by heart. Today, information flows. You need to know how to disinstall knowledge from our brain. Something can be untrue. Recent research has shown that about 10 notions in primary school are actually wrong. It's not a problem because you learn by making mistakes. If you read Leonardo da Vinci's notes, they're full of mistakes. It's not a problem, again, because he wrote things that were very true, of course. But our education needs to adapt to a world of flow rather than a world of stock. You put 85% of the jobs in 2030 do not exist yet. Of course, the school needs to prepare for this. I think the model used for our schools is to imagine that it's a all-you-can-eat smorgasbord of your life. You have a salad bar, vegan choices, fries. So it's cool. You're hungry. Now imagine that the maître d'hôtel comes along and says you need to eat it all. Everything. Every dish you will leave will be invoiced. You will pay for what you don't eat, not for what you eat. And he says, and you have an hour to do so. Someone's done it before you, we know it's possible. That's hell on earth. The buffet hasn't changed, it's still the same food. You've gone from heaven to hell by changing the rules. First there's all you can eat, and then you need to eat everything, and the rest will be charged. And if you eat too much, you'll be publicly humiliated. If you had been force-fed like this, you'd all be in the shrink's office. If it's happened to you before, it would be terrible. But in fact, this force-feeding happened more than 1,000 days in your life, where you've been faced with a smorgasbord, where you had to eat everything. What's the name of that? School. That's how school works. It works along those lines. Our brain, naturally, likes to learn. You know that the digestive system is called the second brain, because it has the more neurons after our brain and spine. The second brain, the way in which it absorbs content is enjoyment. Nobody says, oh dear, eating again. Eating is not a chore. Why should our first brain be forced to do things? It is naturally hungry for knowledge. Kids keep asking questions. Why is the sky blue? Why are plants green? And this natural appetite for knowledge is something we have an absolute duty to not destroy. Thank you, Idriss. When talking about education, Augustin, you are the co-founder of the well-known Michel and Augustin brand. You have a professional diploma in bakery and then went to ESCP Paris Business School. How can you go from being a baker to being a successful entrepreneur in a country that is now global? That's actually not quite true. I did the ESCP before I studied to be a baker, but I wanted to learn a manual skill. I was always very bad in school. Managed to get into a pretty good business school by chance, but I was really frustrated. I didn't have a job, a real job. When they ask my kids what he do, they say he's a baker. I wanted to learn a trade. I wanted to learn to do something with my 10 fingers. And that's probably where I found the most personal fulfillment. And at Michel et Augustin, whether you're at logistics or at reception, after 2 years, you need to be a baker. So on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, we focus on manual skills. I think there was someone earlier, someone very brilliant, who was saying that they were looking for leaders to change the world. But I truly believe that we're all leaders inside. We all have talents and qualities. We just need to know what they are to find the right way to grow them. And it's not through non-profits or not through giving money that we can change things. There's a school where it said, a man, a woman at the service of others. And that is what drives me every day. Of course, there's families, there's NGOs, non-profits, and so on. In fact, what did you do during your holidays with your family unit? What did you do to change the world? Who did you welcome during the holiday? Who today has already hired in his direct team someone who's disabled? I like what Mikael said very much, because in life you don't choose everything, but you often choose the way in which you experience things. And I think what Gaele did is extraordinary. You don't choose everything, but you always choose the way in which you handle things. And Michel et Augustin, when we launched that, of course, we loved bakery and cakes, but we decided to do it out of energy. It was an act of faith. We found a way with these very good biscuits, very good yogurts, to share this communicative energy with others. We all have this ability to be a leader and to change things. And there are people who find life difficult all over. Try and help them. Not only by giving money to charity in your own home. When talking about an act of faith, I think, Ludovic, you're probably in a fine position to tell us what you built with Sigfox. You are creating an incredible business, 300 million euros funding, and all your employees have stock options in the business, absolutely all of them. I would like to understand what drove you to create Sigfox. And notwithstanding all the constraints you've faced. Well, giving stock options is sharing an adventure. Creating a business is an adventure created by human beings. We're leading it together. There's about 400 people in around 40 countries around the world. And what we're trying to create is a balance of the next dissuasion, which is data. It's a crucial concern. If we're not able to bring back data to Europe, and if it stays in North America and Asia, we'll most certainly have issues of data dependency. So that's the driving vision. How do we bring things back to Europe? And how, based on that, can we create opportunities? I think the finest thing is what people are saying about meaning. You get up in the morning. What we do when we get up in the morning is to say we want to stay in France because it's a country where there are a number of values, and these values for the future. Of course, you need to play by the rules, and the rules of the global economy. But ultimately, if you succeed, you may have created a network that could become world heritage after all. You could collect everything around us like a fishing net that would pick up very low energy messages. If you store them in a huge lake of data, you could use it for plenty of stuff to analyze what's going on the planet, individual behaviors, perhaps improve the world. That the band where it's easy to live, the band above of extreme wealth, doesn't really lead to happiness, that the brain works through differences. And if we manage to create this band by sharing values, I think we will have succeeded, which is also why sharing stock options is another way of sharing the adventure. Bertin, you're the founder of Quantum Surgical. You had founded Metec that was sold to Zimmer. You have made France an incredible place in terms of surgical robotics. Do you think that today we can have French champions with an influence in the sector? Absolutely. In France, we have the key ingredient, which is creativity and know-how. A lot of people around the world are very envious of. I embarked on the entrepreneurial adventure 15 years ago. I was an engineer. I worked for a company, as many engineers did, and I decided to leave my job. And I thought that the only way to succeed was just to create the project myself, to drive it myself. So I initially created a technology for knee surgery, a robot that is used to assist surgeons in operating patients' knees more effectively. And a few years later, 5 years later, in fact, an American group came along and bought the portfolio of patents for these technologies, 2007. So already then I thought I wished to re-embark on an adventure. So I recreated a new technology with a new team, this time for brain surgery, brain and spine surgery. technology is called ROSA. It's used to help surgeons to operate more effectively for Parkinson's disease, for instance. And last year, an American group came along to buy the company. So for the third time, I started to sell and to start a new company to continue to develop technologies aiming to help medical professionals to use modern tools involving IT, robotics, to reduce surgical uncertainty. Thank you, Bertin. Well done. A final word. Let's go around the table. If there was one reform you would push for in France. Beyond education, I think the most important thing would mean to stop opposing the ecology and the economy. The environment is the best example of productivity. And if we can do that, we can have less pollution and more jobs. Ludovic? I think we need to learn. You know, everything exists in the cloud. We need to give meaning to learning, to education. Not learn things off by heart, but kind of enjoy. You get up in the morning and you want to make meaning, not just for yourself, but for everything, our environment, what's around us, to make it fun and enjoyable, and where you find love and so on. Thank you. Bertin? Well, I've said so already, but one of our great assets in France is creativity. It's a key ingredient to lead these adventures. What I suffered from was the difficulty to convince investment funds to support these projects. And it's the reason for which I had to sell first my portfolio of patents, and then the very promising company I created, for lack of funding, for lack of investment funds in France who are prepared to support this entrepreneurial adventure. And I think that should be improved, and probably on the European level. We need to provide financial support for the creativity. Augustin? Symbolically, I would change our national motto. It wouldn't be liberty, equality, fraternity. It would be liberty, difference, fraternity. I think egalitarianism is a big problem, and I think difference should be seen as an opportunity. Gaele? Thank you, Mikael. I would like my business to stay in France. I would like the French government and the French local governments, when they are in their purchasing strategies, and for everything that you consume in schools, in offices, in colleges, I would like them to look at offerings that are innovative in French before they buy abroad, but not for negative preferential consumption, but because in our country, as Bertin was saying, we have a real capacity to invent things, and that R&D is not an issue in France. The issue in France is the market structure. We need to reconcile businesses and the administration and the government. And we need to orchestrate the birth of champions, of unicorns, because we can have a great many tomorrow, and that would create a great many jobs.
Merci beaucoup, Mikael. Merci à tous. Vous nous avez encore.
Thank you so much. So much positive energy. So good luck for the rest, and thank you for all still being here. It's a very long day with a lot of interesting speakers, but stay with us. You will see astronaut Thomas Pesquet up on the stage, and a little surprise, a concert. All I can tell you is that she's a global star.